Do you know what your deal breaker is? A deal breaker is something you could never accept within a relationship. And according to a new survey, there's a new deal breaker, which we'll talk about in a moment. First, to get clear about what your relationship deal breaker or deal breakers are, get clear about your values. Write out your top 5 or top 10 values. That is the things that are most important to you. Standards or principles. Family, freedom, fun, happiness, independence, travel, health, God, communication, relationship, faith, spirituality, etc. Once you're clear about what your top 5 or 10 values are, when you meet someone that might be a potential partner for you and you realize that their values clash with yours, then you know you've just met a deal breaker. Now let's talk about the new deal breaker, debt. According to financial website finder.com, debt is the new deal breaker. 72% of respondents said they'd have to reconsider a potential relationship with a potential partner based upon debt, the type of debt, and the amount of debt. Here's the interesting part. The top 3 are reflections of behavior. In other words, the way that you handle and manage money also says a lot about your actual character. Do you have self-control? Can you control your impulses? Can you delay gratification? Do you spend within your means, or are you simply immature and irresponsible? So here are the findings from finder.com. The first one is actually credit card debt. Interestingly, respondents put a ceiling. They said up to about $12,000 is okay. Now, you've got to look at that and say, well, it also depends on how much money a person's making in a year. If someone's making, say, $50,000 or $60,000, $12,000 credit card debt could be about 20% of their income. But again, it can also speak a lot about, well, what kind of person is this person? Are they responsible? Are they mature? Can they control themselves? Do they plan ahead? Or do they just give in to their impulses? Of course, there are times when any one of us can have huge credit card debt based on an emergency, maybe a medical emergency. The second kind of worrisome debt is student loan debt. And it was put at a cap of around $48,000. Because even if you've been relatively responsible and you say, well, I had no choice, I had to go to college, I had to pay for it, that amount of debt, depending on how high it is also going to put a strain on the relationship. And it means you're not going to have as much extra cash to splash in the time of the relationship. The third form of worrisome debt is payday loan. And this is obvious because many of these payday loans are so predatory. And again, there was a cap there of around $4,800 because more than that means, again, you're going to be under a lot of burden and under a lot of pressure to try and pay that back. So when you meet someone, you want to find out not just what their debt is, but what kind of debt they have, to what extent is the debt, and do they actually have a plan to pay off that debt? And here's the point. If you're the person that has the debt, then before you even start thinking about dating, the first and most important thing to do is start to make a plan right now about how you're going to pay off this debt. Get on top of it. Be honest with yourself. What is the debt? How did you get into debt? Was it really an emergency, or was it lack of responsibility, a lack of foresight, a lack of self-discipline, a lack of self-control, a lack of delayed gratification? Work on those behaviors. Then make a plan to pay that off so that when you meet the potential partner, the potential love of your life, you can say, listen, here is the debt I have, but here's my plan to pay it off. And yes, I made some mistakes in the past, but I'm changing it. And within this period of time, it's all going to be paid off and I am in control. And here's my long-term vision, my long-term plan. Now, if you'd like to learn more about relationships, go to my website, patrickwanis.com. And incidentally, I also have a new audiobook and program called Get Over Your Ex Now.